recording. My full name is Lois Sorensen Matthews, and my maiden name, or my name Lois, was given to me when I was born, and I had a twin sister, and we were called Lois and Louise. But my dear family chose to call me Lois most of the time. When I was born, the doctor, it was during the middle of the Depression, my parents were not very well off, and the doctor brought a bucket of water into the room where my mother was and said, well, it's not a very good time to have a lot of children. Which one would you like to get rid of? Just joking, of course. But my mother said, thank you, I'll keep both of them. The home where I grew up was a fun place to be. We have an orchard, and friends across the street had an orchard, and we would sleep out in the summer times underneath the trees in the orchard, and we would sneak back and forth, hoping not to get caught, and turn a hose of water on underneath the beds of those who were sleeping under the trees. And of course they would return the favor and get us a little wet too. My earliest childhood memory has a lot to do with my grandmother, who was very proud of having twin granddaughters, and so she spoiled us. We got to go to all of the senior movies with her. She treated us royally. We were her pets, and she didn't hide it one bit. We played,
or games, family
we
members.
played Run Sheepy Run, Annie I Over, where you throw the ball over a roof of house to a team on the other side, and you run around the house to see if you can catch that team with the ball before they get to you. And we used to play Red Rover, Let Us Come Over. We had a lot of childhood games that we played out in the summertime in the yard, and the neighbors, we all did it together. Yes, I had family chores. My mother worked, and so we girls in the family, by this time there were 5 girls, were all in charge of taking care of the house. It was cleaned all the time. My mother took care of most of the cooking, but the house cleaning was left up to us, and it had to be done very well.
What did your mother do?
If we didn't dust the furniture properly, my mother would run her fingers across the furniture, and we would return to the tables to wipe the dust off. My mother worked at Troy Laundry for some time. My dad also was a truck driver for Troy Laundry. As my mother aged, she went back to school and became a nurse, and nursed until she finally died. Before. What was school like for you as a child? Well, I was pretty smart in school, to tell you the truth. I think I probably got straight A's most of the time all through school. I loved, well, we used to take shorthand all the time. I loved to do shorthand. In fact, I won the state contest for a shorthand contest statewide, and I won first place in that shorthand contest, where you take everything down in shorthand and you transcribe it, and it's recorded on speed, accuracy, and etc. Well, I didn't do a lot of sports. When I was in probably 12, 13 years old, I got a finger hit by a baseball, and it crippled my little finger, and so I didn't do a lot of sports except bicycle riding. All fads from my youth were poodle skirts, which were a felt type skirt and had poodles on it, and Yabba Dabba Doo. Was it Yabba Dabba Doo? Statements on sweaters and stuff like that. My childhood heroes. Oh, what were your favorite songs? I don't remember.
You have any pets?
I had pets. We had a little dog when we lived in Deerfield that my father and a friend got drunk one time to see what would happen to the dog. Of course, he got very wobbly.
What was his name? Do you remember?
I don't remember his name, but when we moved to Provo when I was 9, 10 years old, we had a dog named Ponto, and he wagged his rear end all the time because they had cut his tail so short when he was tiny that he just had some white fur coming off from it, and so in order to wag his tail, his whole rear end wagged. You know, it's funny.
Oh, your friends. Who were your friends growing up?
We had best friends growing up, and we would have our arguments, as friends sometimes do, and we'd draw a line in the middle of the road and dared each other to cross over or else, you know. But then when we moved to Provo, and I was in junior high school, we had a group of about 12, 13 girls that just kind of formed our own little club. There were two groups in the junior high school, and we competed with the other group on different things. But that was fun. We had a lot of friends together there. World events that impacted my life was the breaking out of the Second World War. When the planes would fly over our house, we kids would run and say, we don't use this word, the Japs are coming, the Japs are coming, run fast. But nothing ever happened negative. Christmas was always very special. We had very little as far as fresh fruits or anything else in our stocking, and we hung the big old brown stockings on the mantle. And every year, I don't know how my mother managed it, but she always managed to get enough oranges to put one orange in the toe of the stockings for each of us. And that was indeed a treat. We treasured that. The oldest group.
You have 3 minutes left. 2:56.
Special. I don't know.
Well, any stories you want to share about your parents, grandparents?
My parents were very, very loving parents. We were very, very faithful in the church. And I can remember as a child, my mother, used to go to a lake called Fish Lake, and we would camp out there. My dad would warn us that if we slept outside of the cabin, the deer would come and eat our hair, so we were very cautious about that. But my mother at one time said, you girls, the older girls, you can take the little girls out in the rowboat on the lake. Well, the sisters forgot the oars to the boat, and so we went drifting out on the lake. My mother saw it and, coming fully clothed, ran out into the water and retrieved the boat and brought us back to shore. What do you know about your family surname?
Or the name of your spouse? You have.
Oh, the name of my
less than
spouse was Malcolm Leroy Matthews. We met when he came down to BYU to go to college, and he was in the same ward. He lived with his uncle who was in the same ward, and we just went around in a whole group of kids to do all the activities, and eventually it ended up he left Provo, went to Washington to go to school, but continued to write the family, which led to my eventual marriage of him. I didn't have a profession.
Well, what accomplishments are you most proud of? You've got 1 minute.
I'm most proud of my children, of course. The great accomplishment of raising good kids, whom I love dearly, with all their grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. I am now 86 years old. I have 13 grandchildren, 21 great-grandchildren, and I love every one of them. The one thing that I want...
You have 45 seconds.
What is the one thing I want my family to know most about me? Some of my family are not active in the church, but if I could ever bear my testimony to them, I would say, the church is true, and I will never, ever forget the testimony that I have and the great instruction that our prophet nowadays gives to us. And I'm just proud to say that I have a testimony of Jesus Christ and his church here upon the earth, and I love it all.